Monday, December 16th, 2024. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Reuter.
Present.
Councilor Johnson is excused from tonight's meeting. Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward's also in attendance. Please let the minutes reflect all others in attendance. Attorney Verta, Administrator Rich, and Administrative Assistant Mizuko. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, December 2nd, 2024.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the budget working session minutes from November 21st, 2024.
I'll move.
Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to comments and suggestions from the citizens present or watching from home. The public comment and suggestion period of the meeting is when the City Council offers time for everyone in attendance from watching from home to address the City Council. Once we move on from the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but are not required to comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. If you'd like to address the City Council during the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6268. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the City Council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting? Please come forward now or dial 218-628-6268. We'll give that a minute. I got a little something to say. So everyone knows Councilor Reuter has been a part of the city for 30 plus years. Do you have an exact number? 20? 22 years. He served in a lot of different capacities from city administrator to mayor, and now I'm currently at city council, along with probably other committees and commissions that he's sat on throughout the years. Councilor Reuter decided not to rerun this election cycle, so he's going to finally go off and retire, maybe for sure. Some big walleyes are probably in his near future, hopefully. So with that, we got you a little something, Councilor. I want to thank you for your years of service and dedication. Councilor Benson wanted us to go stand in the front, so. I don't know where he wants us.
Gotta find out where he got that.
So we got you a plaque that says Jim Reuter, City of Proctor, City Council. Thank you for many years of service to the City of Proctor, and full steam ahead on your future. Your dedication and commitment has kept us from going off the rails. Presented to you by the City of Proctor. You need one by yourself, though.
Thank you.
Anything to say, Mr. Reuter? Anything to say?
I do. There's a part two. As deputy mayor, starting a new tradition. This is part B of dedication and appreciation of all of your years served here to our community. Enjoy it when you're catching walleyes.
Get back so we can get a.
I would be.
Jim, your knowledge and history of the city will be missed, but I'm sure,
It's been fun.
I'm sure we'll see you around.
Well, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Were there any other comments from anyone in attendance? Hearing none? Are we good on time back there? Yep, all right. We'll move on then if we're hearing no other comments. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Before that motion is made, I'd like to pull 1B and 3A. And with those changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 1B, Hoghead Information Meeting Memo. Just a couple of suggestions on maybe your invitation list. I know you've listed a bunch of the establishments down on 3rd Street, but should we include maybe Blackwoods or Legends Dart Bar? Just in case they want to do a booth or something, depending on where it is. And I don't know if hotels are interested in, do hotels fill up for Hoghead, but they might have some input as well. And that is all I had for that. Was there any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor to approve the Hoghead Information Meeting memo, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Oh,
I would just like to add that we could, between now and whenever the administrator sends it out, add our suggestion.
absolutely.
Counselor Benson, this email will probably go out, or the notice will go out in the next couple days. Your input, and that would be appreciated.
Thank you. All opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to 3A under committee reports, 2025 committee commission and meeting information draft. There were just a couple of corrections on here that I'd noticed under your September meeting dates. You had Monday, September 1, but I believe it's the 15th, just so before that gets posted publicly. You got that? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And then I added a MIC piece of paper to the committee appointments. Councilor Benson and my seat on the MIC are expiring at the end of January, and they're looking for replacements to that committee. So I believe we'll probably address the committee's selection at our first meeting in January, but Administrator Rich was kind enough to put together a list of the open seats, and so just keep those in mind for our first meeting in January. But it brings me to another point under liquor control. Councilor Johnson's seat is up at the end of this year, 12/31/24, but Councilor Reuter's seat is still open until the end of December 31st of 25. Was that a committee you were intending on staying on, or are you stepping away from all the city politics?
Thank God, at least.
You'd like to stay on? Okay, so that one we won't have to address. Was there any other discussion on the committee commission meeting information? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve that information.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor DeWall. Is any further discussion? They both said it at the same time. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 5A under unfinished business, City of Proctor blight policy. Is there any discussion regarding the blight policy? Hearing none, we'll move on to 5B, St. Luke's Arena parking improvements and accommodations. Does council have any discussion regarding 5B? Hearing none, we'll move on to 6A under new business. Proctor Area Historical Museum operations request. Mr. Schwartzbauer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sent the information to you. I'm here to answer any questions, concerns that you may have at this time. I have nothing else other than what's there to add.
Thank you. As you saw in the packet, Jim supplied us with a bunch of information here that shows their financials and what they've spent over the last few years, some of their loans that they had. But he also, on page 1, he had 3 requests. And I know, I was looking at some of the stuff from 22 to 23, and it's two officers, no board members, so it's getting to kind of be a,
That is the biggest concern we have right now, other than finances is not the issue. The concern is, how do we get new people involved? And that's part of the biggest reason that that we're requesting monies here. If you go out and try to find people and says, by the way, you have to be officers and you have to fundraise completely, that makes it more of a challenge. We are hoping that something occurs, because the last thing we want to have happen is that we are no longer able to function as a historical society and we're left with the building. And that's when the Minnesota Historical Society and the city of Proctor then get involved. It is our goal, if we get some funding, some help, as outlined in that request, that we will go after attempting to get more people involved. One of the things we'll do is probably talk at that Hoghead meeting to the different people, that how do we work together on a variety of things. Letting people know through things like the Proctor Journal and other places like that, or through the city, letting people know this is where we stand. 2 officers, no board. Certainly the Minnesota Historical Society is very aware of our situation, and we have regular meetings of the handful of people there, but nobody's stepping up. So that's why that sheet was in there, to let you know what's happened between them. And you also should note on there, we no longer have those debts that you see associated with that, and we are ADA compliant.
Right.
So we're in really good shape, except for officers and board of trustees.
no, and as I was reading through the packet you submitted, have you ever reached out to the high school per se, and maybe the history teacher there, and asked, their seniors need so many volunteer hours each year, and I know that.
Periodically talk to different people. I've talked to Glenn Gilderman. I could perhaps talk to another individual who was a social studies teacher, who just happens to be the high school principal right now, that's sitting directly behind me, and see if he might have some interest or some opportunity for me to come up there and see what can go on.
I just thought that the months that you listed were June through August, and that's when the high school is out, and maybe some seniors need some
We would love to partner more
hours.
with the high school. We'd love to partner with other groups. That is the primary months that we'd like to see people up there.
And just so council knows, I did have a meeting with Finance Director Brunfeld prior to the meeting, just to see where our financial situation was. She did tell me we could potentially use the 10% gambling fund to offset some of these costs to the historical museum. With those funds, we are required to spend some of those dollars every year. We probably should spend more than what we have been, but I wouldn't be opposed to taking $5,000 out of the 10% gambling fund and submitting it to the Proctor Area Historical Society Museum to, fix a roof. I think you said you had about $2,500 worth of repairs left on the roof. So I'd like to, if that motion gets passed tonight, I'd like to see that money used for the roof. Obviously, we can't tell you what to use the money for. But,
Right, correct.
And then the rest of it, I'd like to see go to some of your bills that you have in that $6,000 category. So I'll make that my motion to use 10% gambling fund money up to $5,000 to be given to the Proctor Area Historical Society. Is there a second?
Second.
And by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes.
Thank you, council.
You're welcome.
And Jim, enjoy your retirement, though I, like you, have failed miserably at retirement, and I suspect you will do the same.
Is there any reason why we can't use any tourism dollars towards that place? I mean,
I'll defer to
that's why
Administrator Rich.
tourists would go there. I mean, it's not like the local citizens are, I mean, if it's the objective is to bring people from out of town into Proctor, that's one of the things they come.
Yeah, from what I understand, that tourism dollars can go towards marketing and towards advertising, but I'm not aware that it can go to actual like physical operation and plant and building.
I know we've gone down this road in the past, and Sally did a nice printout of what those dollars can be spent on, and Jess is right on on that, but I don't remember the whole list of it. But I know we looked at it in the past as far as spending tourism dollars to help, you know, for some reason, and maybe you can remember, but I cannot recall at this time.
Yeah, I don't believe you can either. I was on council and we looked at that way back when as well. I've served on tourism also. It's just not one of those things. It's a nice idea. I would think it would. I mean, we just, well, 2 weeks ago, we had a group of students from Michigan Tech. There's about 7 or 8 of them. They came in, they spent hours there. They just happened to be there. They're in a railroad club out at Michigan Tech, and they just stopped by. Love to promote that more, so, but how do you do it when you only have 2 officers and just a handful of people? It's a challenge. So the $5,000 will help immensely, but we definitely have to get new people in there as we move forward.
I know a guy whose schedule just opened up quite a bit.
Do you really? There's a couple people on the school side that their schedule opens up soon as well. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim. All right, well, that will bring us to 6B, Resolution 71-24, 2nd Street Final Acceptance. In your packet is Resolution 71-24, accepting, to close out the final payment with USA and SEH on the 2nd Street, 9th Avenue and 3rd Street Utility and Street Reconstruction Project. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 71-24.
Make the motion.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Councilor DeWall seconds that for discussion. Any discussion? Councilor DeWall.
Going through the bullet points there, which would be what somehow was established by dollar amount or a payment deduction, questioning whether that is enough to fulfill what we, city council, settle what we're going to do. I'm not trying to hurt contractors here, but I'm also trying to be transparent with realistic, and specifically with number 2 is what raises concern to me. I believe that's enough to solve that issue. And having dealt with this before on a public utilities pump station, it took several years to get this straightened out, and one of the things that helped us was having enough leverage in final payment. It still took several months to get it completed, and then once it was completed, it got paid out. So I think it's just kind of brushing it off to the side, and I think we're going to be set up as a city and taxpayers for a bill that who's going to pay when it comes to the end, make it right. That's just my concerns.
Thank you. And Tyler with SEH is here, but Tyler, these other 2 deductions that they took out, if you don't mind, I'm kind of throwing you on the spot here, but the 1670 for turf establishment, has that been corrected already, or we still got to?
That is for the, there was a low spot at, I think, 09 2nd Street, behind the trail, and then restoration discussed at 9th Avenue along 840 property. And when we had met last on site, we discussed that it's too late to do anything this year with it. So I had requested from the contractor basically taking bid quantities in an area and saying this is what they would be putting down in place of that. So we took that deduction from the contractors that proceed with that. Willing to take that payment.
Okay, so that 1670 is actually a quote from a contractor that would be doing that work.
Say that one more time.
That the number you guys came up with, 1670, for the turf establishment items. That number was supplied by a contractor that.
That was based on unit price bid items from the prime contractor.
Okay.
Based on a rough area measurement of what we thought.
And then the 47 for the alley / driveway high spot, that's what the contractor that met us on site that day was gonna charge to fix the alley problem, correct?
Correct, fix the high spot, as we had described it to them previously.
Right.
And that was based on their quote from that subcontractor. That work. If we were to use just bid prices on that one, it probably would have been less than $1,000. So, because of the timing of that and them having to do it after the fact of all paving, that's why that came quite a bit higher from their sub that they reached out to.
And then that
Makes sense.
yep, and then that last bullet point, bituminous pavement density.
Yep.
Is that hole we visited?
No, that was already taken care of by the
Okay.
contractor.
Okay.
Cost. The payment deduction is based on the material testing and schedule we have to follow for MnDOT. There's we take so many densities along the section throughout the project. And if there's any discrepancy in meeting specification, they have built-in disincentives or incentives based on that density. So it's just a safe hold. If it doesn't quite meet that density requirement, then there's deductions. If it's a density that's so poor that it causes, is going to cause more failure, then it's written in that specification for that to get pulled out. It's just built in. $850, I think.
So in those less dense areas, and I'm not a asphalt guy, right? So, if we have future failure with those roads or those areas, what's our recourse of action on something like that?
Good question. This is, I guess in my opinion, a pretty minimal
Okay.
amount of discrepancy. There's a built-in discrepancy, or there's a lot of discrepancy throughout typical projects. Actually had a recent project in another community where the density was so high that they ended up having to pay the contractor more than cost factor. So it's, in my opinion, I'm not going to sweat that density amount. I think if we were seeing some real issues that would have been a lot higher, or it would have caused more remove and replace.
Thank you. And I was just asking because I want to know where the numbers were pulled from,
Yep.
so it
And
makes
so
sense.
That one specifically is straight out of the MnDOT spreadsheet calculation, basically.
Because the core samples have already been pulled,
Yes.
so the density is already known
Yep.
throughout the entire road project.
Correct. And I think this was a lone spot that was slightly under spec. But again, this was the least amount of, how do I say that? It was as good as you can get being not meeting density requirements. There's built-in, this is the highest, if we're meeting density, this was right below that, and I think there's a few other steps in that still require payment reductions, or payment deductions, but we didn't fall into those categories. We were just one step below the meeting that's back in that application. And I can get you a copy of that to see what that is. But
You've confused me enough
It's-
with the
it's very
language. I don't need to
confusing.
look at the report. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on those? And to Counselor DeWall's point, I guess you're probably looking for some answers on at least the 4,700.
Yeah, because now that isn't even inclusive on, well, I guess we've never officially heard back council what was found when people were going to go out there and take a peek. That we talked about a month ago. We talked about it here, the customer or citizen was here, raised a complaint. Our action plan was we're going to send, Tyler's going to send somebody out, I was an alternate. Mayor went out there, issue was discussed, And
Yep. So when we met out on site, it was kind of, I got a word from the contractor that they had KTM, the sun was that they were planning to have do the work, coming out to do it the next day. So I quick called Chad and homeowner and
Jay
who
and
else was
Rick.
out there.
Jay and Rick.
Jay and Rick, and my site person, myself. And we looked at the issue and basically we determined that the homeowner likely wasn't going to be happy with us just fixing the high point. So we had determined at that point as a group that it would be best to hold off because it was the last day that the plants were open for the season. So at that point it would have to hold out until spring. And during that meeting, the contractor actually offered up to take payment deduction to get the project closed out, versus having to do the work right now and have the homeowner be not happy with it. That's where it was left at that point.
so that's how you came up with the 4708?
It is based on the quote that KTM had provided the contractor to do the fix for the high.
Of just the alleyway.
It goes into their driveway a little ways, not the whole swale portion of it, but it does go into,
Right, it's all within the city right of way
Yes.
technically, not into the driveway of the
and so we
So
did,
that number covers everything that the city owns as a right-of-way from 9th, going west or east to the property, and then to the alley.
It covers where the high point was found that's causing pooling in the driveway, and then all the way through to the alley, knocking down the ridge at the alley so that that doesn't hold water, and repaving that slopes all the way to the alley drainage ditch.
well, is it probably 3 feet into, we'll say his driveway, on our right of way, but
Yeah.
in his,
If the alley's, I'm guessing the alley's what, 16 feet wide? I think their total measurement was like 2 feet length, so it would have been an additional
about halfway. Then.
6 feet into his driveway.
Knock that down. It goes to the high point. Because what, I don't know who, if it was your suggestion, but there's a high point in the alley, mid alley, where the water's backing up and coming back into the right away in front of his driveway. So that 47, whatever KTM's quote was to fix that high spot in the alley back into where the water was pooling. May have been halfway through that right away area, but so that whole section is what that 4700 would cost.
Next spring.
And then
That day.
I will say that pulling KTM out there the last day of paving, they probably, in my guess, they probably threw a high estimate at it because last day of paving,
They
they're
were keeping
scrambling.
their plant open for that.
But yeah, I mean, that's part of the risk, obviously. It's next spring,
That's my concern.
Yeah,
And
I
then
get that.
I did physically go and look at it myself, just out of curiosity. And I think the intent originally was solid. The execution on how it was worked was not as favorable. Because instead of creating a saddle or a swale, it's 2 points intersecting rigidly, for lack of a better term, where nothing was done by hand. And I'm not an asphalt guy, but I've seen it done, and I've seen people with water rollers that are working that down, to a point to get it to move, travel. To me, it looked like we did this roll and we did this roll, and we got a fine line intersection. And what I'm worried is to try to get a contractor to touch this thing next spring without having really done that research or even getting a potential estimate. We're kind of throwing a dart out there into the wind. asphalt most likely will go up a few bucks per ton. Traditionally does every year. I'm also assuming the workforce labor will go up as every contract usually has an increase, some type of cost of living. And I'm just worried that at the end of this, if we don't hold enough back, I mean, put the city in a spot where we're gonna have to deal with it and pay for it and then go back after some more money. To me, it's easier just to retain. I guess I was hoping for some kind of a estimate of, okay, well, you're the engineer. How do we fix this? That's why you make the big bucks. What is your game plan? What is the cost to implement this game plan?
Sure, and to speak on that, since our punch list walkthrough and we saw this high point, my recommendation was to do exactly what KTM was providing by getting rid of that high point. I guess the swale piece of it that you bring up, I never got, I don't recall ever getting direct direct words from anybody of any design type of swale, or if it's a rigid type of swale. It was just to convey the water from point A to point B, which, in looking at that driveway and how to have to get constructed, my best guess was that they were going to pull parallel with that swale, and there would be a seam there. But I never got any opinion from the homeowner, anybody, I guess, say how they preferred that. But I still have the recommendation that I think the fix that KTM provided, I feel like it would fix the funding issue. But yes, I don't have an estimate with me. I can run an estimate, or I don't know what's your
Well, and I agree with Councilor DeWalt on a lot of the points he brought up. One of my concerns, though, is the county's tied into this project with us, correct?
sponsor?
Yeah, and their thoughts on leaving this open are probably not the highest in regards to that. I'm guessing they want this thing wrapped up as well, or?
I would assume they would. The other reason I wrote this now is knowing that assessments are going to be taking place January 1. I thought it would be good to have acceptance on the project prior to that. I don't know if that holds anything legally, but that's the other piece of that. I will say that it's going to be a battle to get the contractor back out in the spring, knowing that they were there and ready to make a fix at the end of the season, and then we told them to hold off. Not saying that it can't be done, but it will be a battle, I'm sure.
I got one. So the 1% that we remain owing to them, the 24.2, is that minus these deductions at the top, or is that after the deductions at the top?
Yeah, that's my anticipated final payment amount, and that includes taking these deductions.
Okay, so after those deductions, it will be the 24.2.
Correct.
Council? Any suggestions?
Not opposed to closing it out. I just want to make sure that we have enough available funds to correct an issue, an ongoing issue that we know we can't correct now. But I still think it was smart of whoever made the decision on the day of. I think it would have been just wasted money, and then we'd still have been stuck with the same problem come spring. And I don't think it's, if you look at the overall cost of the project, with the dollars remaining, to add a little bit anyway to that, a little more bite into making sure it gets corrected. asking us to make a decision on potential taxpayer money to pay twice for a job that should have been done once. Who's at fault? I don't know. I don't care. All I know right now is it's a problem. So it's our job to solve the problem. And I understand the county wants to close it and get it off their books and this and that. I just want to make sure that we're protected a little more than that. I don't think that's enough protection.
And I can easily go back to the contractor and request more. I can't tell you if it's gonna be successful or not, but.
I mean, at the end of the day, who makes the final decision on what the number is? People that are paying the bill or the people that are generating the bill?
Well, I'm sorry, but it all depends on what the solution's gonna be. We don't know what that solution is yet.
Right.
So what Tyler's asking is, okay, so USA is not gonna be coming back to do this work. Once if you approve the closeout, they're gone. They're done from this project. And we're just trying to withhold enough to hire someone or come to a solution. So if your budget is a $5,000 fix, then we need to find a $5,000 fix, or a $4,700 fix. Then we need to find a fix for it to come in that budget. Now you have the option of completely replacing the driveway for the resident. That's going to be a different number if that's the fix that we decide on.
And what was discussed at that meeting was we would repair from the easement out, right? If he we're going to let him get a quote if he wants to do his whole driveway, but our portion that we were going to be responsible for was from that seam tonight, is what we discussed.
Yeah, I can't remember if you had said that or not. I know that the homeowner wanted it at least from the seam out.
Because we talked about how he was okay with that one seam, because we told him there was always going to be a seam there. But, so, and I think we hold firm on that discussion we've had. And to Administrator Rich's point, yeah, if it's X amount, then we got to find X amount. The 1670, I think you said a lot of that for the turf establishment, that was along 9th, that same property line there. So that would all be kind of, some of that money would be included in that 48 or 47 as well, because that's,
Well, and the two go hand in hand.
Right.
Once the turf is established, then it eliminates the silt.
so it's not,
Stuff running down, which makes it look worse than what it potentially is. I agree with that. I just, without having somebody with some knowledge in the business saying, I kind of want a worst case scenario. If we have to go from the road right away, our initial saw cut, I think we're setting up a contractor that's going to want to not touch it.
Right. And the only thing I would have to say to that is, that's where it comes into play, is what is the issue, and was that actually a construction issue, or is that a preference thing at that piece that was going all the way to the driveway? Because from the initial meeting we had on site with the homeowner, we agreed upon providing a swale in the front part of the driveway to collect drainage so it didn't get to the driveway, which that was the intent of the build. The contractor did not get that fully built correctly because they provided the high point driveway, which now ponds, and so this was their provided fix to get rid of the high point and correct that drainage. And so the question becomes, is that contractor's responsibility to go all the way back to the seam again for the rest of the driveway, or is it to get rid of the drainage issue to make the swale work on that site? So that's where I think the trouble is of looking for more money versus taking this amount. And yes, I agree with you. We don't know what it's going to be like in the spring. If this amount's going to cover that high spot, that's question unknown, but in my opinion, I think that high spot, if we get rid of the high spot, it solves the issue with the drainage. But again, we also met on site and discussed that that would not please the homeowner, so.
well, and one of the issues was if we eliminate that high spot, it's going to leave 3 or 4 more seams in this driveway.
Right.
That was an issue.
Yeah, it's unfortunate corner because there's already an additional box cut out for a telephone pole that was removed. That makes no sense, other than that you can tell where the telephone pole was. And, I look at it from a practicality of, that was my property, but satisfied. But I also know practicality is I'm not gonna get a brand new driveway because city right of way is a city right of way. Seems to me like that is understood.
It was that day.
I just want to make sure that we're covering enough from our right-of-way purposes. I would feel more comfortable if we had a contractor that could give an estimate, other than maybe the price of asphalt increase. But maybe it's the same contractor that we were going to use for a fix. Hey, to make this right, make the water flow, and to make it aesthetically pleasing as practical within our jurisdiction, what is the price tag? And if you tell me that's what you've already done with that contractor and that's what you came up with for a price, that's a question.
The
4708.
4708 is the
Fixing the alley.
6 by 22 foot seam to get rid of the high spot in the public right of way, but not the remainder of the driveway that's in.
So that's his driveway, where that V is that you talked
Just
about.
want to center it.
Yeah, about, here's the alley, it goes from here to about here. So we would have that. That 47 took care of.
It seemed to be more of what I saw. More towards the center.
And that's why he's saying he thinks if he did that, it would fix the issue. But now we're leaving a guy with 5 seams in his driveway.
Right.
When you
And he doesn't like from what I understand, he doesn't like the swale at all. So it's, if you do that, does it make the homeowner happy? I'm guessing not.
No, the only thing that's going to make the homeowner happy is to read the whole thing, which we can't justify. We're responsible for our right of way, and it's always our right of way. We have an obligation to make it the most practical way so that it's not puddling up water, which creates trip hazards, slip hazards, accident hazards in the winter when it freezes. And as long as that water is running and take care of the, lack of a better term, erosion control of the silt running in, which that is just getting grass to grow. That's all that I'm asking. And as long as it comes in, I'm just worried that cost of per ton.
Yeah, and sitting here tonight, we're not going to know what that contractor bid is going to come in at. We won't know that till next year when they set their prices, asphalt prices get straightened out.
Right, so if we already know that they're not gonna come in and fix this problem anyway,
USA won't.
why can't we just take a week, get an estimate quick, based on this year's rate per ton, knowing that that's gonna go up. That can go up $5, it can go up $20. But at least it gives us a better stab in the dark of what we're looking at. And then I think if you take that to contractors, say this is our estimate this year, knowing that it might be up, we're sharing a risk in that. And I think we have something to stand on to say this is why we're holding back this amount.
So if the council were to direct me to get that quote, would I be getting the quote for the same area of correction that this one was provided?
I would think yes. If in your engineer mind that you think that would fix the issue, then I think that's what we gotta hold them liable for.
Yeah, I don't think we can hold them liable for anything that's not an issue. But if it's an issue target, I mean, you kind of know what the square foot is. I don't think it would take much more than a phone call to get an estimate,
Right.
which doesn't delay the process too long. And then at least we have somewhat of a more accurate number come next spring. And we know we have a little room in that soil, whatever it's called,
Turf establishment.
turf establishment
Administrator Rich, if this were to wait till our January 6th meeting, what does that do for the assessments? And obviously, we can't close the project out until then. Does that,
The assessments have already been
Coming in.
approved and sent in.
okay. I just know
I
Tyler
just
made,
question whether the quote's going to be much different. Like Tyler had said, KTM gave this price at the end of the season, ready to wrap up. It was effort for them to come out. That would be my caution. And it's the same amount, you're not changing the fix, it's still the same fix, it's just a different time of year. What if it came in lower than what this 47
We
is?
have more than one person that deals with asphalt right in our own town too. Have we even asked them?
This was KTM, wasn't it? This was KTM.
Yeah, I'm referring to the other one that's in Proctor in our backyard. Would it hurt to reach out to them and say, this is what we're thinking the issue is? It's like getting a second opinion. Somebody that's been in the business for a long time.
Yeah, and I'll say KTM came on site and that was their proposal. That 6 foot. Makes it exactly where they needed to cut out. But I don't disagree with it. There's always value in asking for second.
yeah, and Elena was at our meeting that day as well. Well, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Was there more conversation, discussion?
No, because the motion right now that's been is what's before us, so either vote on it and go with it, or don't. I just don't wanna feel like I've been a catch-22 at the last second. I don't like being put in that position.
Councilors, anything? Nothing? All right, well, we do have a motion and second on the floor, so we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of closing out the 2nd Street, 9th Avenue, and 3rd Street project and approving resolution 71-24, say aye. Oppose?
Aye.
I'll vote in favor of, so motion passes. Do you want to do a roll call vote on that, I suppose? We'll perform a roll call vote since there's opposition. Councilor Reuter?
Aye.
Councilor Benson?
Aye.
Councilor Duval?
Nay.
Mayor Ward is an aye. So yeah, motion passes. And we'll move on to 6C, Resolution 72-24, Assessment Deferral. So in your packet was another deferral. I believe this is number 3 on the project. Just looking for a motion to approve Resolution 72-24. Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6D, Resolution 73-24, approving the 2025 budget. In your packet is Resolution 73-24 with the budget material Finance Director Brunfelt has nicely put together for us. Nothing has changed since the last time council has visited that, correct, Leslie? You don't have to stand up if you don't want.
I mean, there's a couple of changes, but they were discussed at the budget meeting.
Correct. So just looking for a motion to approve Resolution 73-24. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Just want to ensure, I know it says approving the final 2025 budget, but budget is a working document. We can revisit at any time, correct? On that noted. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6E, approving year-end transfers. Again, every December, we approve our transfers. Finance Director Brunfeld, again, has a nice memo to council reflecting all the transfers that she is requesting. Looking for a motion to approve the 2024 transfers and release from restriction. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Councilor Reuter made the second. Is any further discussion? There is one question I do have for council. At our budget meeting, we discussed the PD and fire department's budget at the end of the year. If it was not spent, we would roll it into the general public safety fund, due to the fact that we have some big purchases that we're looking to finance there. Is that something council was looking to do, is roll over any unspent budget dollars into the public safety from those two departments to be able to afford the equipment that we've purchased? I was talking to Finance Director Brunfeld earlier.
It is actually on here.
Oh, it is? Okay, well, we did talk about it then. No, we were talking, well, we didn't think there was an actual discussion held on that. So, I mean, we talked about it, but no actual formal direction for her. So, if it's on there, we're good. Any other discussion?
Just on, when years past, I honestly don't know where that loan is at, but, excess from PETA 24.
They're all,
Oh, it got
there's
some-
no loan.
They're all paid. I think the
And
last one,
the whole 55,000 that was budgeted for PETA will go to PETA. And then we'll have a remaining balance. Are you asking?
From what wasn't spent in 24 to
Correct.
25
Correct.
will be added to the 50.
No,
it'll go to their
so
account.
we budgeted 55,000, they did not spend it all. So that remaining will go to their fund and be available for them.
Perfect.
Now, is that, I know we've done that every year, is that cemented now where we don't have to make that motion yearly? It just automatically happens, or is it something we still visit?
No, I would still have it on this transfer sheet, so
Okay.
you still have an opportunity to approve it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6F, Resolution 74-24, Prosecution Service Agreement. In your packet is a resolution authorizing and directing mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver an agreement for the city prosecution services with Dreyer and Peterson PC. Looking for a motion to approve. I'll make the motion to approve. Is there a second? Sent by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Go ahead. Chief Gatus? Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Tyler. This comes with a recommendation from you, obviously, I think I saw.
Correct. Sergeant Regal and I met with the city of Hermantown and met with the firm and discussed their plan of what for since we got elected.
Thank you. And you met with Dreyer and Peterson?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Not this Friday, the Friday.
Thank you. And my only other question on that then was under the termination. I know it talks about doing a one-year agreement. The termination is 60-day notice. You can cancel as long as you give 60-day notice. Do we want to put an end date on that 1 year, or?
I think Mr. Burdick can say about this is kind of a niche kind of deal. I mean, not too many people do prosecution outside of the county, you know, so it's kind of hard to find a prosecutor in private practice. So
Right on.
it's kind of similar to what our other contracts stated.
Thank you. And the reason I'm asking is because I know that in the memo it talked about potentially within the next year doing an RFP or RFQ for this work. And if that's something the city's going to do we want to have a termination date set for December 31st, 2025?
Well, I mean,
Or
we really look at that, but again, you know, the times that we did look, we got firms out of the cities nice to have a person.
We got Freiburger.
True. But to do prosecution, you know, it's like, we had more interest out of the cities than we did here. And in this contract, at least we have it in there where the attorney is coming up here to do training for the guys at site. And Hermantown and us thought that was very important to have the local attorney educate our officers and to get to know the attorney and work.
Local Duluth.
Yes.
That's all I have. Councilor Benson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, because I was looking at her online resume, the attorney would like. I didn't notice any sort of municipal prosecutions as part of her.
In the past, she has done. Yeah, that's what she, like I said, we met with her along with Hermantown Police and their administration. We were happy with what they had to say. Tell us
Very much.
forward. And who comes along with her.
What?
The paralegal that Mr. Reed is also doing, which is vital in our line of work.
Okay.
To draw criminal complaints, and that was one of the key components that they said that she is coming along.
Good to know. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thanks, Chief. Brings us to 6G, Ordinance 0125, Floodplain Ordinance. First reading. So in your packet was the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Administrator Rich has spent a lot of time working on this floodplain ordinance. I was in her office actually on Saturday when I came down to sign checks, and there were maps everywhere in there. So I know she's been working on this one. But this is the first reading for the Proctor's draft floodplain management ordinance. So first reading, it's quite lengthy. I'm sure people want to get home tonight, so I won't read it word for word, but it is available online or in our packet. So that'll be our first reading on the floodplain ordinance, and we'll move on to, is there any questions on that? I'm sorry, Councilor Benson.
Has it been online?
Our packet is online, ain't
The
it?
packet is online, yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 6H, Ordinance 0225, Cannabis Ordinance, first reading. And we have the pleasure of having Miss Caitlin in attendance, so she can update us on this first reading of the cannabis ordinance.
Hello. My name's Caitlin Crowley. I work at Proctor Law Firm with Chris and drafted your cannabis. So one area that I want to call your attention that I think needs to be changed that I was just reviewing right before I came today is just the definitions on page 2. It's 1.53 for cannabis retail businesses. It's just the last part of that sentence. It says and excluding lower potency hemp edible retailers. I would like to say that including, just because in section 2 contemplates the retail registration process that certain license holders have to go through to sell cannabis or low potency hemp products in the city. So I just want to make sure that is included. You'll see I'm just updated there. Online that more clear for a while on low potency hemp edibles versus cannabis edibles and how you would treat the low potency hemp edible retailers, just because there's a lot of businesses that are already selling these low potency hemp edibles. Those are the seltzers and edibles that local establishments are already selling that were authorized for this law, which would now be authorized under this law. Any questions?
I have one question, maybe more towards Administrator Rich, but I see we're just changing the name of the Liquor Control Board to the Liquor and Cannabis. What's the process? Can we just change that name, or does that have to come before somebody?
So you're changing it in the ordinance. So that is the process, is changing it.
Okay, so then on that 3A memo, it won't be liquor control anymore, it'll be liquor. Okay. That's all it takes. Perfect.
It's in your code.
Thank you. Any other questions for Administrator Rich or Caitlin? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
So that would be the first reading of ordinance 02-25 cannabis ordinance. Any discussion on that? Thanks to the cannabis committee and to the legal team for drafting that up. Moving on, 6I, year-end vacation accrual. In your packet is a memo from from Administrator Rich regarding the police vacation accrual. This year, we got some officers with accrual limits, chief of police 60 hours and police officers 34. That's 2 officers, it looks like. In the past, City Council approved a memorandum of understanding to allow a carryover. The council also has the option of paying out the vacation at the current rate. So what they're looking for is direction from council tonight on whether we want to do another MOU or paying out the balance of the vacation hours. So we'll open the floor for discussion on that. Not much discussion. Maybe I'll start it. And maybe Chief Gaddis or Sergeant Rebel can answer, but how come are we having a hard time taking vacation time again, or what's the reason for having the hours? In my world, and I'm just going to speak candidly, right? We negotiate vacation time to be used, especially in your line of duty. You need that mental break. You need to escape for a little bit and have that relaxation time. So I would like to see our officers using their vacation time to have that mental escape, and I'm just curious as to why we're not.
For me, it's a whole different story. It just, like I was talking to Administrator Rich Friday, I try to get Fridays off. Okay. You know, as a mayor, council mayor, you get calls all the time. You have to answer the phone. Okay. So I'm a whole different animal. Okay. I've been working on that, trying to take more vacation time. I asked the union steward to be here. I don't know if he got a call or whatever happened. For his situation, he told me today is that we still had one officer that's in the military. He takes time off for that. He feels guilty that all of a sudden now we have 2 guys that are working overtime, and all of a sudden now they have to work overtime the following week to cover for him, and he just feels guilty about taking that time off. That's one of the reasons we have been doing much better in the last year and a half. Well, the officers using their time, but we're still with us. So, compared to what we were doing much better. The officers taking plus we 7 plus.
Right, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I know it's not the lack of manpower that it has been over the last however many years, 8, 9, but that's why I wanted to ask the question of why we're not at, if it was the officers not willing to pick up other shifts when people ask for time off, or if it was just a...
Well, we are kind of in a little different generation where people, like those of us would work a bunch of overtime to pay for something. So the world has changed a little bit, but also too is that myself and the union steward, we have 20 plus years on, so we're building that vacation time quicker than younger officers.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Just one question that comes to mind. I mean, there's kind of like 2 options in front of us, but there's technically 3 options. One just not a nice one. And being transparent, were these hours, just stick with the easy one, police officers, was there any police officer denied a vacation request? In other words, somebody put in for a vacation request for XYZ off, but they were denied due to something.
Normally, I mean, how we do it is your vacation request will be approved if the shift is filled. The shift isn't filled, then they can't take that time off. We haven't ran into any situations like that. We have run into it where it's getting close to the deadline for somebody to fill the shift, and the officer may say, well, I'll just pull my vacation time. Like, vacation, my shifts are gonna get done. That's up to the officer. As management, haven't denied it.
Then my other question would be, as it pertains to the two categories you have listed per contract, have we fulfilled the requirement of the contract?
As far as scheduling time off,
I
or
believe there's some language in the contracts that speculate in order to either A, carry over, or use, you need to at least have attempted to use half of your accrual in a given year.
Yes, according to Shar Jones, the payroll clerk, this is the amount, according to the contract.
That they would be able to roll it over? They've used,
If allowed, yeah,
They've used 50% of their accrual rate in this given calendar.
yeah.
So that answers that question.
in the contract, is there a certain amount that they are allowed to roll over?
There's a maximum hours. They can, from year to year, they can have a max of 300 hours.
You could roll it, as long as you use 50% of your vacation time, you could roll the rest of it over as long as you're not maxed out at that.
I'm assuming in this case we're maxed out,
Maxed out.
where
Um,
that rule doesn't apply anymore.
Okay,
Because they've already hit that max.
got it.
It's a tough subject.
What's council's pleasure on it? The only heartburn I have, and I want the guys to use the vacation time, or gals, depending on what department we're speaking of here, but I mean, that's, like I said earlier, that's a big mental break that especially you folks in your line of duty need. And I don't want to sit up here and say, well, you know, this year I had to give a few weeks of my vacation time back because we lose them. We either use them or lose them, you know. So I don't want that to be the situation here. But the worry I have is by rolling over hours, obviously it's another added expense because we're paying those hours out at a higher rate of pay. There may not be a big difference, but it's still a difference, right? So I don't know. I haven't spoken with Chief Gatus about this, but
Well, like I say, compared to years past, it's much better as compared to what it was
Oh, yeah.
before. I would say the entire department was maxed out.
yeah. And
So we couldn't take off time.
And I don't know the breakdown here, but we're talking two officers at 17 hours apiece, perhaps. Maybe it's 32 for one and 2 for the. I don't know what the breakdown is, but I would like to see him just pay it out and get it off the books and move on. But I don't know what council feels. That would be my suggestion, and I don't know what the PD feels. I mean, is paying out the hours? It's Christmas time. It'd be a nice little bonus check, but.
That I don't know. I asked them to be here. So.
Yeah, but that would be my recommendation from council is pay the hours out before the end of the year, and let's try this again next year. But I really hope that you guys do try and use that vacation. It's important. It really is.
I would never agree to carry over more than what the contract already allows for. That's why we have the contract. If they want to change with that language, then they need to bring it up when it comes time for that appropriateness. I also agree in that I don't want to disincentivize somebody that is being a team player. But I also want to correct the issue. And why is it, since I've been on council, every year this comes before us, every year. And I know some years out of your control, because we were short of 2 officers and going through some transitioning times. Why can't a report be run in June or May, so that we're not dealing with it in December? And we can make appropriations so that people, if they do want time off, get it. Ask for it.
Not to interrupt you, Counselor, but we have put it out before, the book, sign, if you're a senior officer, hand it out, sign up for your vacation time. You're done with it, your award, you go through that. That didn't work. So we want to, every officer to try to fill up vacation time throughout the whole year. Like I say, yes, the officers are over, including myself, some of them, but I go compared to years past, this is a heck of a lot better than it's ever been in the last 4 or 5 years.
I'm just trying to be transparent across the board, Chief.
Oh, yeah.
We have other departments, other city departments that use it as an employee standpoint. They're being responsible for it. They know exactly how much they have and how much they potentially could lose. And they figure it out somehow in a department. And I know some departments aren't necessarily a 24-hour run department, but we do have departments that are a 24-hour run department too. Out in the street. We don't know when it's going to snow. You know, so I'm for paying it out. I believe it's been earned. I don't want any employee to feel disincentivized by being a team player. But I would rather not have this run across the bow. And being I was just recently elected, I will be here next year, and I don't want to see this happen again, because it's been happening for 7 years in a row. Which is like, okay, not solving the problem, we're getting better at it, we're not solving the problem. And I think in this particular department, the vacation is there for a purpose. It's for that mental time off, to go hike, walk in the woods, do whatever, other than what is related to the job. So I would just like to see it. If we're getting better at it, let's be the best at it this next year, if that makes sense. Barring somebody leaving. You know, assuming the staffing is at the 7 where it's at now. I know that we never know when that happens. But just, I've said my piece.
Any other discussion? Councilor Benson.
I agree with Councilor Duval about perhaps looking at it quarterly, just to see where we're at. Mental health, physical health comes first and foremost with the officers across the board. Don't want to I don't want them to feel like we're taking anything away. They spent the time, they deserve compensation. Taking that time off, though, is important. And we certainly rely on the senior staff to make those schedules work for both the contract and the officers.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, or there's no motion made, was there? I'll make a motion to pay the officers and the chief of police out prior to December. Is there another payroll period? Yeah.
There's a cleanup, isn't there? Half and half or something, usually? Maybe not from the employee standpoint.
How about
from the system, Leslie?
just on the next payroll? Can we
Well,
do
what
that?
she'll do is she'll wait at the end of, until the end of the year to see where the final numbers are, because there is some vacation still scheduled on the books, so this is an estimate, and then she can do a back pay on the first payroll of January.
All right.
At the
I'll
rate.
make a motion then to pay the officers and chief police out on the first pay period of January for any unused vacation time. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Duval. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Brings us to members' concerns. You want to go first or last, Mr. Reuter? Councilor Reuter, the floor is yours.
I just want to say what a pleasure it's been serving with you guys these last 4 years. It's been a lot of fun. And how much I appreciate our employees and staff. How great they are. I think they do provide wonderful service to the citizens. Who I'll say publicly, I think the best one we've had in a long time. I have no problem. I have full
How much did
confidence.
that cost you?
Well, that's us too.
Us city administrators stick together, you know?
Include the interns. And I would concur with that.
No concern at all that Mr. Peterson will fill my shoes quickly and that the city's going to be in good hands with council going forward. So, and thank you for the games.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor DeWall.
I just want to extend my gratitude and thankfulness for Mr. Reuter for dedicating a portion of his life to the city and the citizens. It's a tough job, and it's kind of, I think, on just about every corner of a city, whether it be administrator, mayor, council, different boards, committees. And it's just tough to get people involved like that, and I'm very appreciative. And I'm also grateful for having you as a resource over the years. There's a lot of times where that little gray bulbness of a person comes in handy because they've been through it, they understand it. So thank you.
It was good up till that.
The gift will make up.
Can you edit that? No, thank you, Councilor DeWall. Councilor Benson.
Well, I guess I just want to join the council for someone who has served with Jim perhaps the longest, almost a generation, service to the community. I could just relate that he's been kind, calm, a stabilizing presence in some difficult times, and it's just been such an honor and a pleasure to serve and be part of this community together. Outstanding. And I just also want to thank to the staff, constituents in the community, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays to each and every one.
Thank you. I just got a few. Want to start off by acknowledging Tom Aldridge. He's been the chair for P&Z the last few years. He's also been on P&Z for 30 plus years, I believe. He also is not seeking reappointment to that commission, so thank you to Tom and all of his hard work and years of service to the city of Proctor. And Councilor Reuter. Yes, the last 4 years have been amazing working with you. Your knowledge and expertise on city government has been rewarding. Learned very much from you over the past short 4 years, and yeah, I wish nothing but the best for you and your family moving forward. And I think Administrator Rich thought it'd be funny to, you know, for 4 months now we've had an agenda that was maybe 10 pages long, and she sends one out Friday that's 122 pages. So I think she wanted to get back into the Foshi days and just remind you what it was really like. So no, I appreciate.
No way she could have a meeting that long.
So I appreciate everything you've done, and best of luck to you. And yes, to Councilor Benson's point, wishing everybody a happy holiday season, happy New Year, and I hope everyone is safe, and looking forward to serving another 2 years as your mayor come 2025. So thank you for that. Just a reminder, our next meeting will be January 6th. Councilor-elect Peterson will be joining us up here, so excited and looking forward to all that. So thank you. Chief Gaddis, you got anything?
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Can I get a feel-free card?
Just one.
Didn't you get one of those? No, I'm just.
This was the mayor job? You must have lost it.
Attorney Henka? Or Verta, I'm sorry. Nothing. You guys throw me off. It's something different every week. Ms. Caitlin? No? Administrator Rich?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you, Jim. It is fortunate for myself to have a former city administrator and not two city administrators on a city council. You understand the position, and it definitely was a resource to me, so thank you.
Thank you. Hearing nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $245,901.44.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Counselor DeWalt made a motion to pay the bills. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Counselor Reuter made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.